Okay, well, it is 7 o'clock, so time to make the big noise. Okay, is that loud enough for everybody? Oh, there's Buttercup. Okay, good evening, everyone who actually made it tonight. Welcome to our February meeting. Ah, yeah. Let's start with birthdays and anniversaries for February. Sue?
Yay! Thank you, President Marion. And we should sing, but maybe we shouldn't sing because we're not very good. But we should all say happy birthday on February 26th to Kitty.
That's
So
Oh,
somebody
happy
I
birthday,
know.
Kitty.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Happy birthday, Kitty.
Hello, I hope you'll enjoy this eco moment with some food for thought. When we think of bringing sustainability to our roads, our minds often leap to electric and hydrogen vehicles. And here's a question. Are electric cars really better for the environment than gasoline-powered cars over their lifetimes? And the answer is yes. Electric vehicles typically release fewer greenhouse gas emissions than internal combustion engine vehicles during their lifetime, even after accounting for the increased energy required to make their batteries. Their carbon footprints are expected to get smaller in the near future. And why the question in the first place? The question arises because electric vehicles require additional energy during manufacturing. And why is that? It's because of the production of their lithium-ion batteries. And the lithium-ion batteries involve mining, refining, and processing of raw materials. And it's the raw materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel. And this results in a higher carbon footprint up front compared to fossil fuel-powered cars. However, once the EV hits the road, it produces zero tailpipe emissions. It becomes more greenhouse gas friendly over time, and especially when charged with clean electricity. So, compared to a fossil fuel vehicle, over its lifetime, an electric vehicle significantly reduces overall greenhouse gas emissions. And did we know about clean and dirty energy? Electric vehicles are charged using electricity from the power grid. Energy can be generated from various energy sources. Clean, which is renewable energy, or dirty, which is fossil fuels energy. So if it's home charging, most EV owners who charge their cars at home use either a standard outlet, which is level 1, or a faster dedicated charger, level 2. And there are different types of charging stations. Public charging stations include level 2 chargers and fast charging, which are direct current fast chargers, which replenish the battery much more quickly. There's also renewable energy charging. Some EV owners install solar panels to charge their cars using clean energy directly. And are some electric vehicles actually charged on dirty energy? And the answer is yes. In areas where the electricity grid relies heavily on coal, oil, or natural gas, electric vehicles are indirectly powered by fossil fuels. So this means that while they produce zero emissions while driving, their actual environmental impact depends on how the electricity is generated. However, electric vehicles still tend to be more efficient than gasoline cars, even in fossil fuel heavy grids. Electric motors convert energy to motion more efficiently than internal combustion engines. And as grids transition to renewable energy, electric vehicles will become greener. And if there are questions, we'll try to answer them, or we can just revert to a discussion among ourselves. Thanks very much. I hope you've learned a little bit through this eco moment.
I have a question.
Oh, you think I can answer this question? But go
Well, I
ahead.
don't know. I wondered about batteries because apparently the life of the batteries and they're not really disposable or anything. So how
That's a,
does that factor into?
yeah. Well, that's probably a very good question. You're recharging them. They must have a decent life.
But it's not just about the life of the battery. I know they don't have as long as they probably should have, but you can't dispose of them. So if you can't dispose of them, does that make up for what you're
That's a good question, isn't
where
it?
where is it on the scale of they're saving this, but do
But
they
doing,
lose it over here and where does it balance out? I guess that's
I'm going
my
to look that up and I will follow up and just see what we can do. But that's an excellent question. But that batteries are a problem, whether they're any kind of battery, just what do you do with a battery? So yeah, I will attempt to find the answer to that. Good question.
that would be great.
Did you all see that little presentation fully? Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah.
We didn't see you, just the presentation.
Well, yeah, I know. I was in the bottom corner of it. Yeah, which is interesting with PowerPoint. I learned that I could do that, so why not why not do it? Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kitty.
You're you're very welcome, Nancy.
Yeah. Wait, here you go.
Kitty, do you know anything about the hybrids? You know, the combo. Have they done any research on those emissions? Do you know?
I don't know,
No.
but I was speaking to somebody a week ago that's topic of
Mhm.
the electric vehicles and one gentleman had a hybrid. He never gets gas and the battery charges as he's driving and he's just never gets gas. He's very happy with his car. I'm just interested in what's going on in the environment and asking questions and getting answers and doing all the as much learning as I can. And when there's a question, yeah, I will see what
Okay.
I can find because I'm pretty good at finding information.
Well, and I appreciate that because I do want to share our family, our youngest daughter, they have excuse me, a hybrid. And our son-in-law was saying that I think in the 2 years he's put in 3 tanks of gas. And
Mm,
they also plug it, there's an option to plug it in if they need to. But yes, it generates
yeah,
its own battery
yeah.
power as it drives. I thought it was rather unique.
Well, that was the what this gentleman was saying. But my concern with an electric or hybrid or whatever it is, and these are decisions that there are certain decisions with the environment that are easier to make than others. I mean, if you're going to change a car, that's an expense. If you're going to change a furnace or something like that, you're talking a lot of money and a lot of effort and whatever. But my concern was if I travel to Parry Sound, for example, that's a 5 hour drive. And I do not want to find that I would have to stop someplace for an hour and a half in the middle of that drive, and find a place. Now I looked up and found a list of the places that you could plug in an electrical vehicle. But this kind of thing, it's a 5 hour drive. I don't want to make it an 8 hour drive. So there's a lot of considerations and a lot of changes that are going to have to be made, obviously, to save the environment. So that's not a question. What can we do that will have a big impact as quickly as possible? So,
I've had another question, I think.
Oh,
yeah, Bev.
thank you, Kitty.
Oh,
Oh,
Thank you.
changed
oh,
her mind. It wasn't a question. It was just my daughter has one of those hybrids that charges, and I didn't know that. And I said, "Well, I don't see your station in the garage where you plug it in." It says we don't. It
yeah.
charges herself as it drives. And she barely ever puts gas in it, and they just love it. So
You see, that to me is a better deal than just an electric vehicle, because I was talking to somebody who has an electric vehicle and has had it for, well, what, maybe 6, 8 months or something. And I'm thinking, well, geez, there's somebody else who's got an electric vehicle, and I'm behind without an electric vehicle and all this. And then he says, well, we had problems to finding a place to plug the thing in. And then it took an hour and a half to recharge the battery. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's not just as easy as you might think. There are problems. Nancy, you still another?
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to make a comment. I think there is a lot of work to be done yet to get to that point. But we have in our community, there's three that I know of, three electric vehicles. But in this cold weather, they're having a heck of a time because it uses a lot of battery by the time, you have a seat warmer and a defroster and all of those things. So, they really measure when you were talking about that, they really measure where they're going to go in a really cold day. Just food again alters lifestyles.
My question's more for Rick because he's the mechanic here. How, that gas sitting in that tank that you're only using, if you only use the tank 3 times in how many years, like
Yes,
what does that fuel do sitting in that tank? Like it can't be good for the vehicle.
You'd have to have some chemical to stabilize it, I guess.
Stabilizer, probably, yeah.
Because
that's a good question.
Yeah, the hybrids are basically, if you drive in the city, your city, not too bad. But if you're going to Toronto, you'll be using your gas engine to get to Toronto. It'll charge it back up, but it'll have to go on the engine. Wow. That's what I've heard about hybrids is, for city driving, yeah, there's no problem. It's all, you never get gas. But if you travel any distance, just Toronto to London and whatnot, you'll be using gas to get there.
Yeah.
That's kind of a safety thing for me is that there's always that fallback system that you can always fall back to your engine. But the gas sitting safe for 2 or 3 years because you've just never used the gas engine, and plus the gas engine, it needs exercise too, more or less. With that, so if it's not running, then the oil's not circulating. So what's happening to the engine without the oil circulating? That's another problem. So I'm not sure. I'd have to ask somebody with a hybrid or a official where they sell them and say what happens to these engines. That would be the point there.
What a great topic this turned out to be.
Yeah. I know my daughter has a Toyota Corolla SE hybrid, but it took them a long time to get it. She waited for 2 years to get that car.
Wow. And we had to get a car oh my goodness, it's like over a year ago because I had this accident. And we were thinking of going to a hybrid, but we couldn't. I mean, this was October. You had to wait till April or the end of April or May. And what are you going to do? And that's a real serious problem. Yeah, lots of good things come out of this topic tonight anyway. That's great.
Well, thank you very much, Kitty. So then we better move on to Global Scholars Program presentation that Sue is giving us. And after all the work she did and lost and put it again, I'm going to hand it over to Sue.
Well, thank you very much, Marion. And yes, I had a PowerPoint, which I made some changes to, and none of the changes was saved. So I was scrambling before the meeting. We'll see how much of the information is what I expect it to be. It's an adventure. So what I'd like to share with you is I'd say there's 3 things. One is to tell you a little bit about what my role was when I was the district Global Grant Scholar Chair. And the Global Grant Scholar Chair is responsible for finding a student who will take $30,000 from us and the Rotary Foundation, mostly the foundation, and take that and study. The reason that I'm going to tell you about this is because my previous dealings have all been with sending the student somewhere. And I'll tell you about the students that we sent around the world. But now we have an opportunity as a club to receive a student. And so we'll hear a little bit at the end about what that will entail for us. And I'll tell you right up front, there's no money involved. So as the host club, we will be welcoming a student from somewhere else and providing guidance about our district, our end, and being the Rotary support and the Rotary stewards of that same $30,000 that the US that this student will be spending. So let's start with my role as Global Grant Scholar Chair was from the years 2018 to 2021. And during that time, I was sent Danielle Perro to Oxford University, where she studied OBGYN. And if you Google her, you will see the most amazing young woman who has done all sorts of research and is going to make women's health better, basically. She is just a fantastic representative of our district. The next year, we sent Michael Tesfaye to the University of Edinburgh, and he was involved in global health. When he sent his application to me, he touched almost every one of our at that time, 6 areas of focus in what he was going to do. He had already been a volunteer in several countries where he worked with people. And by the time he finished, I believe he had joined a Rotary Club in Africa. He is an amazing young man. He was sponsored by the Rotary Club of London South. And Leslie Walker was my last student. She went to the University of Vienna. If you Google Leslie Walker, or if you Google District 6330 Global Grant Scholar, you can see a video of Leslie telling about what a difference this scholarship made to her in her studies. Her thesis was a mile long, but I'll give you just the keywords: artificial intelligence, the societal implications, and between resource-rich and resource-poor regions, and how to make it more equitable. So these kids are brilliant, and we had a small part in their success. When I was Global Grant Scholar Chair, my job every year was to get people to talk about the program and to find us students. So I had this presentation that I have altered today. Hopefully I've altered it, we'll see. And I'm going to share with you the slides that we always presented at the foundation seminar. This will hopefully give you enough information that when you're out and about, you can talk global grant scholarships. And the idea is we want candidates. We want to have so many that we have to have interviews to choose. And so this presentation will give you a little bit of information about that. And we'll just see in theory. Let's go back. PowerPoint. It's such an adventure, isn't it? Let's try that. So can you see a slide that says District 6330?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and now did it suddenly get bigger?
Yes, it did.
Okay, and when I advanced the slide, because one day I did a presentation and nothing advanced, can you believe it? So we all looked at that same first slide throughout. So I'm going to go to the next slide and let's see what happens. We need your help. Can you see that slide?
Yes, we
All
can.
right, okay. Then this is what we want people in our district to do, to know in order to find us some candidates. So it has to be a student who's completed their undergraduate degree, and they would like to pursue their graduate studies in another country. Because we are a cross-border district, we cannot send a student from Canada to the US or from the US to Canada. So that is a restriction just because we're cross-border. And that will come into play later when you find that we're accepting a student from the US. But you see, they're not a cross-border district where she's coming from. And the other question that you're going to ask yourself is, would this person like $30,000? Would that help them at all? And it's US, so it's real money. And how to help. Whoever is our Global Grant Scholar this year, and I believe it will still be Hala Jawad, but if not, David Elliott will be your contact person. So anytime you see Hala, keep in mind that it could be David. And if you can't find anyone to help you, talk to me, because I can find you somebody. If we can get a candidate who wants to study in 2026, 2027, that's how far out we are. They will apply to a Rotary Club. They don't apply to the district, they apply to a Rotary Club. We could have a candidate in the Passport Club. We could have somebody who sends us an application and we vet them. We make sure that they're suitable. And the way we do that usually is by consulting whoever is the Global Grant Scholar Chair. So we go over the application with them, make sure there's no red flags. And if it is acceptable, then it goes to the next stage at the district. But before that happens, you have to know they have to have interest in one of the areas of focus. We have 7 areas of focus now. So it has to be, you see, and there's one of my changes that didn't take place. I was changing it from 6 to 7. We'll catch that next time. So with our 7 areas of focus, most of the students that I dealt with had health issues. But you know, water, sanitation, and hygiene, that's another big one. Disease prevention and maternal and child health and disease prevention. All of those things could apply for many people. Peace and conflict resolution, supporting the environment. I haven't had one yet for supporting the environment, but these are all things that if you can find a link to that in their studies, they are more likely to be approved by the Rotary Foundation. So the Global Grant Scholarship candidates must have completed their undergraduate degree by the time this starts. So they could be in their final year right now for their BA, for example, and planning to start their studies in 2026 for their graduate degree. They must be citizens of a country in which there is a Rotary Club. The people who are applying to us must either live in our district or go to school in our district. They have to have a connection with District 6330. When I was the chair, I did get inquiries from people in other districts because they wanted us to sponsor them, but there was no way. They did not have a connection with our district. And so we would not fund them. They cannot be Rotarians. They cannot be closely related to a Rotarian. Grandparent, for sure. And any other relatives that are Rotarians, we would usually check with the Rotary Foundation. And whoever is the Global Grant Scholar Chair has a person in the Rotary Foundation that is their liaison, that they ask questions of. And because you don't want to go to all the trouble of submitting a grant and then finding out, oh, you know, it turns out that, you know, their sister is a Rotarian, so they're not eligible. Although I think a sister might be eligible. And Rotaractors and former youth exchange students are eligible and they're encouraged. So I mentioned they go through their local Rotary Club in their legal or permanent residence or place of study or employment. That was the other thing. So during this scholarship year, they have to live in the host district. And they have to be proficient in the native language of the host country. The girl who went to Austria, her studies were in English, and she was proficient in English. She was from Ontario. The deadline of November the 15th for these applications might be flexible. It depends on what's happening with the Global Grant Scholar Chair. When I was doing it, I was pretty flexible. And I've put Hala Jawad as the chair because she is right now. However, come July 1st, that might change, and we can certainly find out. If you get a candidate, just talk to me and I can help you to find the right person. If there is more than one candidate, and even if there's only one candidate, I believe they will do interviews, usually in January. And the interviews will be with a group, including the Global Grant Scholar Chair, plus the district chain. So past district governors and upcoming district governors would all be invited to the interview process, along with the foundation chair. So Dave Elliott would be there. And you can find all of the information on the website. If you find somebody, I'd be happy to help you with that. And again, I've put Hala's name, and I have my fingers crossed that she will still be the right person. So wondering why we're talking about this? Well, we received an invitation from David Elliott, who is the district grants chair, asking if our club would like to be the host club for an incoming scholar. I took it to the board, and Marion said if we wanted to do it, you know, she would say it was okay. And so I am going to be the host sponsor. Bev Anderson has agreed to be on the team. And if somebody else would like to be on the team as well, then we can put your names on the grant. We are the stewards of the money. We're not paying anything, but we are the contacts if Leah Holt needs any help. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us. She is in Missouri, and I keep checking on the grant, but we don't have a lot of information on it yet. What happens is and I'll go to the next slide for this, the timeline. In January and February, the student is getting acceptance at the school where they've applied. Leah has applied to Western University, the Schulich School of Medicine and Dentistry, I think it is. And at this point, I don't know if she has her acceptance or not. Once they have completed the grant application, which should be by about the end of February, she should have received her acceptance. The Missouri Club has our names on the form as the host, in order that the Rotary Foundation knows that there are stewards of the $30,000 US at each end. And so far, that's our only duty. They submit the grant request and they wait and they wait. And if we're lucky, they will have an answer by May 31st. And at that point, then more things will happen. If you would like more information about this whole program, feel free to contact me. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to explain that with the Rotary Foundation, things happen. When Michael Tesfaye was applying for the University of Edinburgh, that wasn't his first choice. He didn't get accepted at his first university, but he had a backup plan. And so our grant, and we had interviewed him with one university, but his grant application actually had a different university on it. So this was all happening while we were trying to complete the paperwork. But then, I don't know if you noticed that was in 2020. after we submitted the request, the whole world locked down. I contacted the Edinburgh Rotary clubs and said, I don't know if he's going to be able to come or not. At that point, nobody was flying. And so this is, you don't know what's going to happen with the foundation. But that's what we expect. We expect by the end of May that it will be approved and that we will then have a go ahead. So would you like to ask me any questions about the program? Kitty.
I just
Oh,
have a
and then
question.
Jess.
Yeah, I just have a question. When you say we are the stewards of the $30,000,
Yes.
surely that means that you have to meet this student. And you can't just them. So how is that going to work?
Well, as soon as I get her email, which I don't have yet, I keep checking on the grant application, I will reach out to her. I will introduce her. I will invite her to attend on Zoom the first Wednesday of the month. So I will invite her to attend our Zoom meeting. We'll get to know her on Zoom. I will reach out to her and find out when she's coming to London. We'll have coffee. We'll definitely meet in person. I think the idea is not that we're going to be there checking her purse, but it's that she's going to have reports to do. And as she does those things, if there's any nudging required, then I might get an email to say, like the foundation is really good about reminding everyone on the form when something is due. And so I would say that our contact could be minimal, but I'm hoping that we can build a relationship with her, especially being as she's going to be at Western University in London. We're in London, and it's a perfect opportunity. These kids, they don't take the money and run. They're really serious. We have a very good track record with them. I don't know if that answered your question thoroughly, but I've never been the host before.
Yeah, no, it's just that, when you said we would be the steward, that means some contact, obviously.
Oh, for sure. But I think that the whole steward and guarding the money, and that I think it's more of a, like, on paper, it gives the other club that sense that there is Rotary at the other end. Mm-hmm. And David asked me because I know how the program works. So I know how the paperwork works. I imagine that's why he asked us. But Jess, you had a question too. Maybe I can answer that one better.
Okay, so you were saying about they have to go to school in our district, right? Okay, so for Marion and I, we're technically not in 6330. So say somebody wanted to go to Ridgetown College, just because that's in this area, but then I'm in this area. Would that work? Or would that be like a loophole?
Do you mean if your child was going to apply for this?
No, if we were accepting a student in.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter about accepting the student in. The student's not going to live with us. The student's going to arrange their own housing.
But you said that they had to be within our district,
but
right?
We are.
If they want us to give them $30,000 to go outside of London or outside of Ontario, they have to be in our district to apply. But to come here, it's not the same thing. Yeah. If we were giving it to somebody you knew to leave, then there's certain guidelines on who we will give the money to.
But Jessica, you're in District 6330 by virtue of the fact that you're part of this club.
Yeah, I didn't know how that worked because the physical districts were what are we, Marion, 64 or something?
The district that includes Ridgetown and used to include Thamesville and includes Dresden is 6380.
Oh, that's
To my understanding, if they wanted to go to school at the Bridgetown College, that would be in District 6380. They would have a host club from District 6380, not ours.
That's right. Yeah, like we wouldn't really be concerned with that.
No.
Yeah.
No, that would not be our district for hosting. If we're sending somebody out, it has to be someone who lives or studies or works in District 6330. So if it was somebody who lived in Ridgetown and went to school in Windsor, we couldn't sponsor them to go out. When I was with the Glencoe Club, we sponsored a young lady as an ambassadorial scholar, because that's what it was called back then. And she lived in District 6330 normally, but she was in school. I think she was in Toronto or something and living there, but her home address was outside of Glencoe. So she was able to apply and be sponsored by the Glencoe Club in our district. So, but a lot of districts don't send out students every single year. So there's always the option, if they can qualify for an adjoining district, if they can't do the application through ours, they can do it through another district. It just depends on, whether they can qualify under one of the three possibilities: living, studying, or working in that district. So,
And
yeah.
the nice thing is they can apply to one, and if they don't get in, then they can apply to the other. So if they live in one and work in another, then it gives them more flexibility.
Yeah.
In the applying. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it worked for our student when we were with Glencoe, is that she applied in the district where her family lives and where she has her permanent residence, and it worked out because she had everything, she had her ducks in a row and everything worked out really well right away. So yeah, the district was very good at getting her passed through, and she did her studies in Chichester, England. So
they're going to change the world, these kids.
Oh yeah.
It's so impressive when you read their information, and they work so hard when they are at these distant locations, because they're attending Rotary meetings, they're presenting at Rotary meetings, they're presenting at their sponsoring end, if it's with Zoom. They're really hardworking kids. So I'm really, it was wonderful to be involved in that program, and I think that we will enjoy having that connection with the foundation. So many of us are donors to the foundation, and I love to see how the money is used, and then using the money to fund somebody who's going to change the world. It just makes you so proud.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's no other questions, then I will return control to Marion.
And I give it right back to you, because we're going to do the Did You Know?
I thought we might, so I didn't mute. I have to say, the Did You Know for January had the most right answers of any month that we have ever done. So the question was, did you know I spent a year in a communist country? Everybody shout out your answer. Nancy and George, shout out your answer.
Kitty.
And Rick, yeah, it was Kitty. So yay,
Kitty. Oh my gosh, Kitty.
And Jess had it right. Yeah, I think we had 5 people who had it right. So
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
You've
So
mentioned
what
it a couple
country?
times. You were in Budapest.
What country?
What country?
Hungary, Budapest, Hungary.
Wow.
And I lived at Vöröshegy Utya 80. But I was there for a year and learned to speak, learned to go shopping on my own. And people would say to me in Hungarian, Oh, you speak so well, and I spoke very well in the present tense. I had two little kids with me. They could speak much better than I could. They were in Ovida, which was the kindergarten. One was 3, one was 5. And the 3-year-old is my daughter, and she absolutely stopped speaking until about, well, we went in August and came back in August, and in the fall, she just didn't say anything at school. She was 3 years old, and nope, she's not saying anything until about February, and she wouldn't shut up. Their command of the language was incredible. And I mean, I actually learned the future tense, the future tense several months in, but you have to learn to get on and speak to people if you want things done. And I took a bus down Vereshwadsharagucha, and I would read the signs on the storefronts, and I would listen to what the bus driver would say, or when we were stopping. So I'm picking that up, and it was a very interesting year. Very interesting year.
Well, we all know a little bit more about you now. And
Yes.
do you want to hear the
Awesome.
question for February?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know that some years ago I almost shook hands with Prince Philip? Who am
Ah.
I? I'll send that out to the crowd. Maybe we can stump you this time. And now it's back to Marion.
And now we have happy notes. Rick, if you can go through the happy notes with everybody and see if anyone has anything to brag about.
I'd be happy to do that. So who's happy first? Come on now. Who is actually happy first? Betsy and then Jessica.
Well, I have lots of happy, even though I'm working with a cold tonight. So George and I just got back on Sunday night from over 2 weeks in California. We missed all this lovely cold and had a wonderful visit with our family. I want to say a couple of things. Really good travel. Everything ran on time. George needed some assistance, and it was right there when we needed it. I was very impressed because I was worried about this trip because you hear so many stories. But it was really good, and we had an amazing time with our family.
Good.
Till Friday. And a little sad note, but we were all headed out to lunch. Our last lunch with the family, we decided just the 5 of us were going out, 5 adults, our 2 daughters and our son-in-law. George and I, we were in a car accident.
Oh.
Yeah. George, we walked away. And I'm just going to say, I'm happy we had an angel with us because their BMW was totaled.
Oof.
Because a guy pulled out in front of them, blew through the stop sign, and both cars were totaled. I'm getting a little emotional because it was a pretty shaky moment, but we walked away.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. The other person, not so much. No.
Oh dear.
Hear that?
Yeah. So
So we all
we
got
had
around by
we had
BMW.
an angel with us, and here we are.
Oh, good.
A few aches and pains.
Either
A few
borrow
aches and
your
pains and a
angel.
cold. Pardon?
Either borrow your angel or all drive BMWs. One or the other.
Yeah. So, Rick, one other thing I want to say, you made me smile when you did for Kitty's birthday. I meant to comment on your screen.
Thank you. Thank you. Those things once in a while.
Okay. That's me.
Jessica.
So thank you.
Certainly.
Wonderful time.
I was just going to say that I was happy Maya made supper.
That's a good thing.
So
I
really can't top Nancy.
What
No.
was supper? What's that?
I can't top you. Yeah, I'm just happy my daughter made supper for me tonight. So yes, and it's very good. It turned out very good.
But
What'd you
you
have?
walk away from a near death situation. I think, yeah, yeah. If it's going to be one or the other, I guess you win. Anyone can top Nancy? Yeah.
Well, I
On
can't
top.
top Nancy, but my granddaughter turned 20 yesterday, and I asked her what she was going to be doing. And she says, well, I'm having some friends over for dinner. And I thought, okay, that's really nice. A little while later, I went over, and here was my son-in-law dressed to the nines, but had an apron on and everything. And I said, like, what are you doing? And he says, oh, Lona and I are serving the girls tonight. And the place was totally laid out, absolutely stunningly gorgeous. Both of them were dressed to the nines and serving the girls. And Michael had made dinner because Lona was at work all day, and he's been working weekends lately. But it was, it was this, it was just wonderful. And so for my granddaughter, I asked her today. I said, "So how was it yesterday?" And she said it was absolutely perfect. And the table was like with all these flowers and decorated beautifully, and the whole house was. It was just, and they had fun afterwards, I guess, downstairs. I don't know, but it was just all these 6 girls having this lovely dinner being served by Michaela's parents. It was just wonderful. So I thought that was really.
I wonder if I can get Susan to dress up to serve me. But anyway. But it's okay. Probably not. Okay,
Never gonna happen.
Let it go. Let it go.
And here I thought she did that every night.
Well, she gives me my meal, but I think maybe dressed up, appropriately. That might make my day for that, right?
Rick, is she dressed?
She's dressed.
I might need more wine.
She's dressed. The other, I don't see that happening with any time during my marriage. Okay, moving on. Yes, Susan, you're happy.
I knew I was happy. I was trying to remember why, and then I remembered I got my California wine ahead of the tariff war.
Yay! And so she has 28 days before she has 27 days. It has to get back in there and do it again just to make sure she's covered. Okay, Marion, what kind of happiness?
Why am I happy? Well, I have a belligerent squirrel here. And my bird feeder had broken, and Charles went into the hardware store and got me a new one that is quote unquote squirrel proof. And Sunday morning I was looking out the window, and that damn squirrel got the lid off of it and was sitting in the hopper, reaching down and getting the last of the food from the tube that was left because he had completely cleared it out. This thing is like this big. He's humongous. He's a big, fat squirrel. Anyway, yesterday, Charles found another cage thing that you put over feeders. And so here's our squirrel-proof feeder with a cage on top of it. And yesterday, the squirrel was going around and around there, chewing on those cage portions, and madder than hell because he couldn't chew through it because it's metal coated in plastic. So he was bad as heck, and I was happy. I just had to laugh at him. It's like, So today he was on the suet.
Wow.
So, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. But when you win, you got to laugh about that. Be happy about it. Terry, you got anything to be happy about besides being in darkness?
Yeah, I'm happy because I'm only a couple blocks from home. So.
Well, there you go. Life is good.
Yeah, that's right. I actually took a drive down by the river because I got home and I got some extra time, so I took some drive down, just passed by South Sarnia, went under the bridge. But no, everything's good. Everything's going well, and kids are doing well. Everybody's healthy, and I think I've mentioned it before, but out of my 3 kids and 10 grandkids, the 2 daughters live within about 8-10 minutes of me, and between them, I have 6 grandkids. So my son with the 4 down by Indianapolis is a little farther, but that's not bad. I get to see them next weekend for a 4-day weekend I'm taking off. But no, it's great to have that many grandkids home. And what's really fun is that 4 of the grandkids have always been in the South. and they even have a cute little drawl. And they come up here, and what's so cool is I've taken them out sledding a couple times, and they love it. They just think it's just the most fantastic thing in the world. They're freezing, they're shivering, but they're bundled up, but you know, they get cold. But they just love it, and they will say, "Grandpa, Michigan's just the best ever." You know, it's pretty cool.
You know, if they get older, then they have to go to the snow by shoveling. Then they'll be happy with it.
Well, once the one gets a couple years old and I hand him a shovel for my house, then it probably will be the end of it.
Until then, happiness rules. Yes. Yes, Nancy.
Not to monopolize everything, but I should have shared in my happy note. As you know, my birthday is in January, and our granddaughter is 3 days apart. So I'm 21 on the 21st. I mean, I wish I was 21 on the 21st, and she's on the 24th, and she celebrated her 18th. So needless to say, that's our only granddaughter. So we had just a wonderful time.
A perfect timing there. That's great.
Perfect. Thank you. I won't monopolize anymore.
Kitty, what are we happy about?
Well, I'm always happy. I don't know. I'm just busy, and I don't have time to be unhappy. That's all.
So she's not happy, not necessarily happy or unhappy. She's somewhat happy.
I'm just happy. Yeah.
The only one we haven't heard from then is you, Rick.
Well, actually, I'm just happy every time Susan's happy because we were out. Actually, I was visiting some friends down at Toastmaster friends down at Timmy's, and Susan comes along, because she's afraid I'm going to die going on the ice. So she's there to help me. So I'm happy with that. And then she says, "I want to eat certain hamburgers." Sure, it was out of the way. There's heavy traffic, but it was my wife. I wanted to make her happy, and therefore I am happy that she got her.
Sounds good.
And I got one right here. Yeah.
Reminder, Valentine's is next Friday.
There's always something to stumble over. You ever notice that? Always something. Okay. I'll write that
But I'm
down.
trying to be nice and remind all these men that I know so that they can, do something.
Yeah.
I cook and clean and do his laundry for this one. So, you know what? It's Valentine's Day every day for him.
It's woman for it.
Oh.
Oh, yes, Susan.
I can speak to the Valentine's thing. What I do is, because Rick doesn't really shop, and he has given me so many nice Valentine cards over the years, is I just pull one of those out. I say, "Oh, thank you, dear." And he doesn't remember that he gave it to me.
Now the secret's out.
I used to give her little stuffed things from Hallmark that you push a button and they say something to you.
So, it's just a day, but it's kind of fun to it's like a throwback. And you just give the same cards. You're also saving a tree somewhere. I think.
Well, there we go.
Keep finding reasons for it. Yeah.
And that's why I'm happy.
Okie dokie. All right. Last but not least, who would like to volunteer to recite the four-way test?
Where's my four-way test? I can't do it. I can't. It's gone.
Oh, Kitty said she will.
Okay.
Yeah. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And the fifth unwritten rule, will it be fun?
And there you go. Can never forget that. Well, it's been a lovely meeting tonight. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Have a lovely end of the day. Have a lovely rest of the week. Hopefully the weather is kind to all of us. And we are officially adjourned.